All right, well, hello and welcome everyone. I am excited to be here today to talk about the future of learning and I think how we're on this brink of a new era for both technology and education. I have been dedicated to building solutions for learning throughout technology for most of my career. So I'm excited about where we are right now because I think the recent advancement of AI and XR especially are bringing about a convergence of digital and physical realities where we're not just integrating technology into our lives, but we're actually starting to merge with it. And so in the space of one human lifetime, computers have gone from this very basic, simple machine to having the ability to analyze complex systems and predict outcomes. Now, most of these technologies, however, were largely passive. So they were obediently doing what we instructed them to do. And of course, our learning ended up mirroring this relationship with rote memorization and standardized testing being the norm. I don't believe any of us thought that this was the best way to learn, but the problem is that we just didn't have the tools to make learning engaging at scale. And so this led to an education system that is, in my opinion, critically flawed today. It's a system that not only makes jobs susceptible to automation, but also leads to these uninspired and disengaged educators and learners. But luckily, the remarkable transformation that we are seeing in technology didn't stick to this linear path. Instead, it took a sharp turn upwards and went exponential, which I find thrilling, and the pace is accelerating really quickly. This concept, for those of you who study it, is famously known as the law of accelerating returns. And it just argues that technology progresses exponentially over time because as more advanced technologies are created, they generate even faster progress. So of course, this also resulted in this unfortunate space, which we call the exponential growth surprise factor, which makes many humans uncomfortable and can cause sort of these ripples in the fabric of innovation, which we see at every turn throughout history. But overall, I think this means that the progress we're set to see in the next 10 years could dwarf the progress we've seen in the last 50. And so our students that are currently in elementary school are going to graduate into a world where their workplace and their learning environment will be profoundly different than what we can even imagine right now. And actually, if you think about it, this happened to all of us, right? If you think back to the technology you had in kindergarten versus what you had your senior year, I'm sure there was a dramatic shift. But the problem is, even though we've seen these shifts in technology, schools didn't do a good job at keeping up, and they have now fallen significantly further behind. So if we had stayed the course on this linear model and schools just adapted to it, we would have prioritized this one directional flow of content and information. And in essence, I think shaped us to be more like robots. But now that the robots are here, we can actually turn education into focusing on being human. And so I think this means that we can leverage humans for what we're good at, which is awareness and higher order thinking and decision making. And technology can then complement these skills by handling tasks that are tedious or time consuming or beyond our capabilities. I think what sets us apart from machines is our ability to feel curiosity or to imagine, and even the capacity to feel frustration when we can't get things right in hopes of finding a better solution. This is what gives us the freedom to explore and innovate. And so the hybrid of human and computer intelligence may seem daunting, but consider this. We don't fear calculators, even though they compute faster than any human, or our cell phones, which can generate more information than we could possibly hold in our head. And so imagine what we could accomplish if we could harness these new forms of technology and apply them to problems we have been unsuccessful at solving as a human race. So things like reducing our carbon footprint, or decreasing the need for pesticides in our farming, or building safer vehicles, even curing diseases like cancer, and of course, reversing global climate crisis. So with all of these new advancements, I think the hardest part is, where do we start? Well, the answer lies not just in the individual capabilities of AI and XR, but in their convergence. I think it's where one drives the other that we start to see enormous promise. And so for the past few years, AI and XR technologies all lived in these disparate places, each one showing us its own superpowers as we started to envision how it could move us into the future. Generative AI is immensely powerful at creating adaptive and personalized learning, And immersive technology can transport learners to environments, allowing them to learn through exploration or 3D visualizations. But when we combine them, we can create this future state of adaptive environments with personal tutors, continuous feedback and assessment, AI-generated assessment, and skills-based digital credentialing. This combination not only unlocks learning through exploration and curiosity, but in the same way that the hybrid combination of these tools will help us solve humanitarian and health and climate-related issues, they'll also help us solve 4 of the challenges that lie within our education system, which are engagement, retention, personalized learning, and skills-based assessment. These have been challenges for a long, long time, and they've only gotten worse as we haven't been able to progress. And so it's exciting to think about the fact that we now have the tools to solve these challenges at scale. The pieces are currently scattered around the globe, right? Everything in innovation right now is incubating in startups and getting tested in pilots. But I believe this turning point in education belongs to those that can act as a hub that bring together the tech, the research, the startups, industry verticals, and innovation. They will unlock new opportunities like AI personalized coaching and mentoring, dynamic simulations based on real-time assessment and feedback, and new forms of accessibility. And so I actually think universities in particular are really well positioned for this opportunity. And right now we are all building without a playbook. It's one of my favorite places to build, but it also can be a little bit scary. But successful organizations will be the ones who are the first to merge these technologies together and build solutions that have never existed before. So take, for example, Delphi Technologies. This is a company using XR and AI to revolutionize training through digital twins, real-time feedback, and avatar instruction. And they start by working with organizations to record their best trainers, and then they use advanced AI technology to create generative, personalized trainers for students. So this actually creates an avatar that embodies the techniques of their best trainer while also acting as, I guess, like an adaptive personal educator or tutor, mentor, or even just companion as you go through your learning journey. And then it combines this with a hyper-realistic digital twin of an airplane cockpit or whatever part of the airplane you're training for. And then you can practice and assess through simulations. But this process allows students to practice something just beyond the technical. While much of flying is very technical, pilots have to possess deeply human traits, such as judgment and adaptability and empathy to navigate unexpected situations and make complex decisions. And so these new methods of training with AI and adaptive environments can help them become proficient across the entire spectrum of skills. And early results are showing that this combination of tools is reducing training by 50%. It's increasing mentor capacity by 5%, which is huge, by 5 times. And it's offering pathways to increase the talent pipeline because it can now easily be brought down to CTE courses in high school or university courses. Axon Park is doing something similar for universities and high school learning. Named one of the top VR education companies in 2023, they are creating digital universities and virtual campuses, which are supercharged now with AI, so that students can ask questions that they have at any point in the training or learning journey and get those answers and feedback in real time. The platform also includes social spaces for students to gather and explore and learn together, as well as creator tools for building worlds, adding content, or constructing these campuses. But now let's think one step further, where your AI avatar notices how you're learning through continuous assessment, and it starts to adapt the world around you to accommodate. So this could mean removing stimulation if it sees that you're starting to lose focus. Or maybe if you're doing really, really well, it could adapt the world around you to add an extra challenge if it feels that you're ready. Until generative AI came to the scene, this kind of content creation and assessment took a lot of time and money to create, oftentimes up into the millions of dollars and 18 months to create some of these experiences. And so it made it one of the leading barriers to scaling immersive learning. But that's all changing very quickly. Tools like Blockade Labs are giving us text to 360 world capabilities in seconds, which will not only increase content generation, but allow us to speak environments into existence. And so for learning, this becomes critical because it helps you iterate as you're learning. And so in this example, I entered Taj Mahal. I then picked a number of different styles. So you can tell it things like, I want it to be digital art or cyberpunk or realistic or oil painting. Again, these aren't as interactive as we need them yet. It's hard to pull in other objects, but this is a huge step towards fixing our content problem and presenting us with some of the first tools for real-time AR-generated learning environments. Of course, being able to adapt them as an educator or student is also hugely important, and that's also been a blocker with a lot of our creations. So I love that they have these built-in tools that give you just a little bit of extra autonomy around the placement of objects. So here I'm trying to draw just a sailboat on the water. I pretty much capped out in my drawing skills when I was about 6. But as you can see, you can enter this placement that you want for these objects, and then it will turn it into a 360 environment for you. And so these kinds of tools are extremely important for educators and students because it will allow them to start to use 3D tools to show what they're thinking. And this is really the ultimate goal of technology for education. And so, of course, as we start to build more and more content, we're going to have to do a better job with assessment. And assessment has always been a challenge. But again, it's because we just didn't have the tools to measure it at scale, forcing students to endure standardized tests and multiple choice. But now we have new ways to measure performance through immersive technologies like body movement and eye tracking, along with feedback and analysis through AI chats and conversations. And so technology is also getting more advanced through additional things that we can integrate that we haven't before, like EEG data into our assessments, opening up even more opportunities for true personalization. So EEG data is the measurement of electrical activity generated by the brain. And it's captured non-invasively. I know it sounds scary, but really just through these little electrodes. And they offer a window into the changes and interactions within neural circuits in real time. So these sensors can be integrated into standard headphones or VR headsets, and hopefully one day our AR glasses. But this method of recording the brain's electrical activity can measure cognitive load and understand when we've just had enough and we need our environment to change for learning purposes, or the level of focus and engagement that we have. In fact, it can actually measure a decline in our focus before we even feel it in our own body and maybe start to tell us to take a break or go get a snack. And it can recognize emotional states, also very important for learning. But it can also identify learning styles. And so if we combine this data with AI and adaptive environments, we could profoundly reshape our approach to education, making it much more personalized, more responsive to the learner, and a whole lot more effective, especially as we start to use this data to understand as our own personal learning journey, how is it that we learn better and where and when do we learn better? So that as the data starts to tell us all these different signals day after day, we start to develop a pattern around it, making us much more efficient learners. Moreover, EEG data could also be used to research and better understand learning difficulties. So we could actually use it to help detect and kind of increase experiences for the dyslexic learner or the student who has ADHD. And medically, EEG data is helping us detect Parkinson's and Alzheimer's long before symptoms appear, leading to much better preparation and treatment options. I want to show you a quick clip. This actually was shown at TED 2023 this year. This is a story about Christian who's living with spinal muscular atrophy. And while on the TED stage, Christian, an OpenBCI founder, demonstrated how they could use this data for Christian to pilot a drone. He loved the thought of having the freedom and flexibility to fly a drone, and it was something he wasn't able to do. And so they worked with him to identify 4 of the muscle groups that he could most reliably activate. So these were places in his hands, I think his leg and his forehead. And then once they were able to map out the signal from those spaces in his brain, they created this digital joystick, as you can see. And after some practicing, you can see this is a little clip of him practicing how to activate his own brain to trigger these particular sensors. He was able to figure out how to navigate the drone. So I don't have the final video, but They were able to connect a drone to a camera in his Vario Aero headset, and then he was able to fly in person over the TED audience. So very early days, but it's amazing to see how capabilities like these will drive the next major revolution in computing technology and optimize the user's interactions based on their individual physiological responses. So this can apply to so many areas of accessibility and learning that we haven't been able to solve before. I think, the learning industry right now is experiencing this significant aha moment, and AI is progressing much faster than we ever imagined, providing us with tools that we've been longing for. But with all of these new inputs and outputs, we need a nervous system, right? A network that connects us to all of these new pathways. And historically, this nervous system came in the form of an LMS. And we keep trying to retrofit these new technologies into our old LMS, and we keep failing, which is why I wonder if maybe our old LMS systems are no longer sufficient for all of these new tools and maybe need to be reimagined. What if the future of LMS is all AI, either in the form of a simple chatbot or a completely intuitive, almost invisible system based on our digital interactions? This AI could create the personalized learning path, adapting to each learner's pace and preferences, but it can also help with grading, alleviating administrative burdens while enhancing the learning experience with instant real-time feedback. I think AI, by offering comprehensive data analysis, supports all of the different decisions that we need to make around curriculum design, but in real time for each individual learner and educator. This vision of education is not just about knowledge transfer, but empowering learners to be active participants or nurturing a love of learning and developing essential skills. So as AI matures, it can help us transform the LMS into a responsive and adaptive and deeply personalized platform. All things that we just never had the tools to do before. And as we embrace this future of learning, I think the symbiosis of AI and EQ become an imperative rather than a choice. And why? Well, I think because EQ enables educators to use AI in a way that respects individual learning styles or cultural backgrounds and emotional states, fostering these inclusive and empathetic learning environments that have up to this point been challenging at scale. And moreover, I think nurturing EQ in students through AI, which can deliver it when and where they need it across all their learning experiences, will equip them with the critical soft skills necessary for the future of work. And we're going to have to help learners stay adaptive as the job market changes. I mean, undeniably, there will be job displacement. The next 10 years could see the loss of 25 million jobs. And OpenAI predicts most of the displacement will be in some of our current highest paying jobs, like engineer, mathematician, and financial managers. But we have faced job extinctions before, and we have come out stronger. I think the development of new technologies has often led to the creation of entirely new industries and job roles, and that we couldn't even have imagined before. But it also means that we need to prepare for this change and make sure it serves humanity and not the other way around. Because in the end, that's what this revolution is about. It's not just the convergence of humans and machines, but the elevation of our humanity. And I think the future should be about nurturing human skills and human potential, because these are the things that machines can't do. Career paths will not be linear, but a series of experiences and learning opportunities and pivots, with the goal to not only create more productive and innovative societies, but also a more fulfilled and compassionate one. In its scale, scope, and complexity, this transformation of technology will be unlike anything humankind has experienced before. And we don't know yet how it will all unfold, but I think one thing's clear. The response is that we have to integrate and be comprehensive, involving all of the stakeholders from around the globe, from public and private sectors to academia and civil society. But also merging AI and robotics and human intellect shouldn't widen the economic divide. If we can't make these new tools work for everyone in a way that benefits all of humanity, then shame on us. I really think it needs to be at the forefront, and I think that we can do it. But the real key lies in our ability to adapt and to learn and to reskill. Education needs to evolve with the times, focusing on skills that foster lifelong learning, where curiosity and the quest for knowledge are central as we move into this new uncharted territory. And I think as we step into this new era, it's critical to remember that technology is just a tool, right? Its impact, whether positive or negative, will depend on how we choose to use it. And that decision lies in our hands. And so as we venture into the future, let's remember that the essence of this revolution isn't about machines taking over, but it's about humans rising up. I think it's an era where we stop shaping humans to be like machines and instead turn the tables to make machines complement our distinctly human capabilities. And so let's architect this future with wisdom and empathy and a commitment to responsibility, because the future is not just something that happens, it's something we create. So I say we make it extraordinary.